So here's my attempt to explain what I'm about to do, or I'm in the process of doing, with the column and the base of the column, the ways and the base of the column. In the sort of listing of objectives, I've just now focused on first here the flat ways of the column, running length here to ensure that they are flat and parallel. Flat to well, to one another also, but most importantly parallel to one another, aligned. Flat in itself, and having the proper surface finish, which probably is sufficient with 10 to 20 points per inch. They had a sawtooth form from the milling finish, like this, which sort of was okay enough, but I would want to improve upon that, namely to either knock down enough of the tops or completely off to leave a scraped finish, so that the gliding or the properties of this mating to the, of course, saddle, which will come on top here, is improved, and the saddle will have probably flaking on the underside. So to ensure that you have good oil deposits and running properties. But at least the flat surfaces, they are scraped down with either a power or a manual hand scraper. Of course, having a power scraper is nice, and if you have that, use it, of course. That's, as Richard says, takes away the pain. It's otherwise a more laborious job of doing longer surfaces. You test it, of course, with the straight edge, and the straight edge will then have to be one that goes into the dovetail. So you use one with a triangular, let's say, design, and test the surface here. So you need to then to scrape and then test with the straight edge to ensure flatness, and then to ensure parallelism you need to have some sort of device to test this surface to this surface. And since I have no Kingway tool, which I would want to have, and well, anyway, I don't have one now, I'll use the normal, or let's say regular bridge, where I just use a flat stock here, bridge over, and use a test indicator on this surface. You could, of course, bridge over in different ways and use a level, but I would now want to show and then just use this kind of tool. So I scrape this and ensure flatness with the bluing up a straight edge, or and then transferring, and then I use this to bridge across to ensure alignment to this surface. And of course I have to scrape and ensure this is flat also. In this situation I don't have any wear to consider. Otherwise, if you had wear, you would have to rectify that, and that wear could be both present on the flat ways here and on the dovetail ways here. So then the problem would be enlarged. The dovetail ways here are ground, so probably just leave them as is, and then but have to verify. The one thing is that they are ground, but you don't necessarily need to know that they are aligned, or I mean, you need to test things to know whether they are okay or not. To ensure that the dovetails are also parallel, you will use the double pins, or the precision pins here at intervals, and just ensure that you get the same reading with the micrometer across It's not worn in any way, it's just needs to be a little bit better finish, and needs to be proven that the machining is done accurately. The same with the machining here. You don't necessarily know that it's absolutely flat, you have to test it. So one important consideration also is how to mount this piece when testing. And my take on it have been to put a block of wood underneath here, and then also to prop up this so that it becomes a 3-point. The thing is namely that this is bowed lengthwise, and then also bowed like this. So to get it to sit still, you have to, as I said, prop it up, but you also need to have the support so that you even out the weight, distribute the weight evenly, so as not to introduce some kind of bow with the setup. So a 3-point would be either using a block of wood here, which would be here, and then prop up this, or do the reverse, namely here and here. So either way. I had chosen the former, namely here, because this is better to use at the more spaced out here. So and the most important is, of course, lengthwise. This is not really a consideration, but anyway, this is also something you have to think about. Then the base needs to be also checked, and that's the problem with this guy, namely that reportedly it tilts backwards. So having the base here, column here, and the spindle down, it doesn't meet at the right angle. It means a little bit tilted backwards, so that's a problem, of course. And think about it this way, that if you have a pivot point here and the distance here, the same distance up here, if you had an error here, this would be same error up here, but amplified by this, so it could be 8 times bigger, 10 times bigger, whatever. So really a small error will make a big problem. So I need to scrape, test that and scrape down, and then see from this end, and these 4 pads. So I'll also show that how this is done. And of course, to test this, I need to flip the column upside down. So and the same with the surface finish, but just to 5 points per inch, which is sufficient for static fit. Having the granite, so having the granite table here, the column with the base like this, the column with the bowed end sides like this, and then I put 2 parallels that the ways rest on. Then I can measure, this is free of course, then I can measure this side to the now freshly scraped, or at least known that they are correct ways. And Richard showed us one nice piece of equipment for this, namely to extend the ways up here with a foot and a straight test bar, the foot being magnetic, so you could put it on here, and then you can use a dial indicator here, of course, to check, and run this along here, and then you will see whether this is, or actually this is tilted one way or another. And this could be done also from the side, of course, so you could clock it this way and this way. And I don't have one of those, but those could be easy to make, really, with a test bar inserted into a let's say call it a hollow bigger cylinder, and then just glue a magnet in here, and then certain that these are a little bit protruding, and then turn these, face these flat, So I will make an attempt to make such a piece also. Apart from that, of course, I can use, let's say, not the opposite, but with the 90-degree angle. So either with the